Hello, friends. Today we have something truly unusual prepared for you. We are going to delve into the world of alternative biblical history and uncover the mysteries associated with the enigmatic beings known as the Anunnaki. In this video, we will explore the history of these mysterious creatures from the planet Nibiru, who had a significant impact on the development of humanity. We'll show how their presence could have altered the events described in biblical myths and how ancient astronauts might have played a key role in the fate of mankind. So, sit back and get comfortable. We're in for an exciting journey into the realm of ancient mysteries and myths. In ancient times, when the Earth was just beginning its long journey around the Sun, its surface was covered with majestic landscapes and untamed elements. The atmosphere was only just starting to form, and plants and animals had just begun to appear, making this planet seem like a true young world, full of undiscovered mysteries. During this time, mysterious beings known as the Anunnaki descended to Earth. The Anunnaki arrived from the planet Nibiru, located in a distant part of the solar system, on the edge of the galaxy. Their home star, referred to as Nibiru, was a gigantic celestial body surrounded by powerful energy fields and exotic cosmic objects, giving the planet a mystical status. The Nibiru system was one of the oldest in the galaxy, and its inhabitants possessed knowledge and technology that far surpassed anything available in human history. The Anunnaki were highly advanced beings, and their ships, with which they arrived, were unparalleled. When the Anunnaki first appeared on Earth, their enormous spaceships left fiery trails behind, glowing like stars charting their course across the night sky. These ships were adorned with shimmering metals and mysterious symbols that suggested a divine origin. The technologies used to create them seemed impossible to comprehend at that time. They could travel through space across incredible distances, covering hundreds of thousands of light-years in a short period. As the Anunnaki landed on Earth, their arrival did not go unnoticed. The beings that walked upon our planet were clad in armor that sparkled in the light, and their appearances resembled mythical gods from ancient cultures. This armor was not merely protective, it served as a vessel of special knowledge and technologies that allowed the Anunnaki not only to survive in an alien world but also to exert influence over the environment. Initially, the Anunnaki did not interfere with the affairs of Earth. They observed the planet, studying its atmosphere, geography, flora, and fauna. Earth was a mystery to them, filled with untold resources that could be of use to their civilization. They understood that in the future, this planet would become an important link in their pursuits, but for now, they needed to gather as much information as possible about what was happening on Earth. In their investigations, the Anunnaki employed various methods for data collection. Their ships hovered over earthly fields and forests, utilizing advanced technologies to analyze the composition of the atmosphere, temperature, and the effect of sunlight on the growth of flora. They also measured the movements of continents and oceans, studying the stability of the planet and its potential for more active exploitation. Ancient humans, not understanding the nature of these beings, began to create myths and legends about the gods who had come from the heavens. The Anunnaki became the heroes of these stories, and their images evolved into cultic symbols, gods who could command the heavens, seas, and earth. Some regarded them as creators of all life on Earth, while others marveled at their incredible power and technologies. The process of their interaction with primitive humans remained largely hidden, and despite the evident presence of the Anunnaki, they preferred not to reveal their true intentions. Only a few began to suspect that these mysterious beings had not merely come as observers, but that their purpose was something more significant. When the Anunnaki had thoroughly studied the Earth and assessed its potential, they decided to intervene in the development of this young planet. Before revealing their full power to humanity, they began to establish the first bases, which would serve as a launch pad for their future plans. These bases were strategically located in various corners of the Earth, where they could begin their work of researching natural resources and establishing contact with the local beings, whose encounter with these mysterious entities was both a blessing and a challenge. From that moment, the Anunnaki decided that their presence on Earth would have long-term consequences. They began actively working with the planet's elements, developing technologies and methods that could support their further research and actions. Earth, once viewed merely as a temporary object of interest, soon became an essential element of their grand design. The task of the Anunnaki primarily involved the mastery of the land, resource extraction, and assessment of potential opportunities that this planet could provide for their civilization. They began constructing the first bases and laboratories, through which they could not only gather necessary resources but also build more long-term relationships with the emerging beings inhabiting Earth. Thus, their initial steps on the planet became the first part of a grand experiment that would later be unveiled as the creation of humanity. But before embarking on this, the Anunnaki decided that it was essential to study this planet, understand its nature, and conduct research that would provide them with answers to critical questions: how to utilize Earth, how its resources could help their civilization, and what place humanity would occupy in their plans. The planet Nibiru is a mysterious place surrounded by myths and legends, long imagined and largely undervalued by Earth's inhabitants. Despite Nibiru remaining a distant and unexplored corner of the solar system, its existence has been a topic of debate and speculation for centuries. The Anunnaki, inhabitants of this planet, were not just cosmic beings, they were bearers of an incredibly advanced civilization that enriched their society with technology, magic, and ancient wisdom. Yet, behind all this external power lay deep problems that compelled them to seek solutions on other planets, one of which was Earth. Nibiru was an unusual planet, situated far from other bodies in the solar system. This explained its rarity in cosmic research and the myths that had arisen around its name. Although its existence is not scientifically confirmed, ancient cultures regarded Nibiru as a place associated with mysterious and magical forces. Ancient civilizations, such as the Sumerians, associated it with gods, and referred to the planet as double or global in their texts. According to some sources and myths, Nibiru possessed a unique orbit that moved in an extraordinarily elongated ellipse, indicating that its path through the solar system was long and unpredictable. Approximately every 3,600 years, Nibiru would approach other planets, including Earth. During this time, its orbital position caused immense cosmic phenomena that could influence solar systems and planets. Including Earth, Nibiru was home to a highly advanced civilization engaged in scientific and magical research, creating technologies far more advanced than those known on Earth. The Anunnaki society was based on harmony with the cosmos, reason, and physics, as well as deep knowledge of magic, the hidden forces of nature and the universe that remained inaccessible to ordinary beings. The Anunnaki used this knowledge to create technologies that enabled them to travel across the universe, manipulate elements, and conduct genetic and biological experiments. Among the Anunnaki existed both great scientists and sorcerers who utilized their knowledge of natural elements and cosmic forces. Their scientific discoveries encompassed not only atomic and molecular physics but also more mysterious, unknown spheres for humanity. The Anunnaki learned to travel through time, manipulate energies, and achieve longevity, allowing them to preserve knowledge and information through the ages. However, despite their high level of advancement, Nibiru faced serious problems concerning its nature and life on the planet. This cosmic world proved less hospitable than it seemed at first glance. Nibiru was a planet that encountered significant ecological and climate issues. Due to its unstable orbit and distant travels through the solar system, the climate on the planet changed frequently. When Nibiru was closer to the Sun, temperatures on its surface would become excessively high, and when it moved away, the planet would plunge into icy cold. These temperature fluctuations made life on the planet incredibly challenging and unpredictable. Moreover, Nibiru suffered from a shortage of natural resources. Earth, despite its flaws, held riches that were unavailable on their home planet. Nibiru experienced a crisis regarding water resources, minerals, and rare materials necessary to support technologies and life. Even their advanced knowledge could not fully compensate for the scarcity their society faced. These issues prompted the Anunnaki to consider seeking resources in other corners of the universe. They began searching for planets with similar characteristics but with much richer natural potential. One such planet was Earth. Earth was the ideal candidate for the Anunnaki since it contained all the necessary resources that might help resolve the crisis on Nibiru. It was rich in minerals, including gold, which was highly essential for the Anunnaki. According to their theory, gold could be used to protect their planet from destruction caused by solar and cosmic cataclysms. For this purpose, the gold needed to be processed into special compounds that could reflect dangerous solar radiation and stabilize the climate on Nibiru. However, mining gold on Earth required significant efforts and resources. To achieve this, the Anunnaki established their bases on the planet, which served not only for extracting precious metals but also for making contact with the local flora and fauna to understand how they could utilize them for their needs. The technologies the Anunnaki brought to Earth were so advanced that they could alter the very nature of the planet. They used genetic engineering to create suitable beings that would assist them in resource extraction. Leveraging their knowledge in biology, the Anunnaki began creating the first people who would perform hard labor and gather the necessary materials for the Nibiru civilization. The Anunnaki utilized technologies that allowed them to extract metals, control natural forces, and create machinery far superior to anything available to earthly civilizations. They could manipulate weather conditions, control the growth of plants and animals, and even influence the climate. The beings that came from Nibiru did not go unnoticed by the local populations. As they became increasingly active on Earth, their images began to refract in myths, becoming symbols of gods and great cultures. In various ancient cultures, the Anunnaki were perceived as celestial beings who taught humans wisdom, built magnificent temples and pyramids, and granted them incredible technologies. The myths of Nibiru and the Anunnaki became the foundation for many religious and philosophical teachings that have reached us in the form of texts, images, and stone carvings narrating the great intervention of extraterrestrial beings in human affairs. As Nibiru suffered from climatic and resource problems, the planet Earth became the last hope for the Anunnaki. They began their stay on Earth with the intention of extracting natural resources, but upon arriving, they realized that its potential was much broader. Earth could become their new home if they could successfully utilize all its gifts. When the Anunnaki arrived on Earth, they immediately began implementing their plans for the colonization of the planet, extracting necessary resources, and establishing their presence on its surface. Earth was not just a source of natural wealth for them but also a place where they could unfold their ambitious projects to mine rare materials and create the infrastructure for long-term habitation and operation. These projects included the construction of gigantic structures, which served not only practical purposes but also as symbols of their divine status among earthly beings. The Anunnaki understood that to successfully fulfill their tasks, they needed to create a reliable and highly organized network of bases and laboratories around the world. These bases served both for resource extraction and scientific research, development of new technologies, and control over local ecosystems. The Anunnaki's bases varied in scale and function, but overall, they were built using advanced technologies unavailable to the earthly civilizations of that time. The Anunnaki utilized their spacecraft not only for transportation but also as tools for constructing infrastructure. Using technologies that allowed them to manipulate gravity and matter, they built enormous structures that could be used as warehouses, laboratories, and storage places for precious metals. These constructions also served as a form of protection, acting as hidden points for preserving knowledge that the Anunnaki did not intend to share with local civilizations. One of the most famous and emblematic projects of the Anunnaki was the construction of pyramids and temples, which remain a mystery to archaeologists and researchers to this day. These majestic structures not only served as places of worship but also fulfilled vital functions in their scientific and practical pursuits. The pyramids and temples built by the Anunnaki served not just religious purposes but also functioned as energy and astronomical observatories. For instance, the pyramids were designed to monitor the movement of celestial bodies, measure time, and document important astronomical events. This allowed the Anunnaki to establish accurate calendars and predict events, which was crucial for their technological and magical practices. The temples, in turn, were intended not only for religious rituals but also for preserving knowledge. They were centers of science and education where the Anunnaki could share their knowledge with people or use it for their research. Ancient manuscripts, as well as potions and substances with unusual properties that they used for experiments, could be stored in these places. The primary goal of the Anunnaki on Earth was the extraction of gold. This task was central to their mission, as they believed that gold was necessary for the salvation of Nibiru. The planet where the Anunnaki lived was suffering from climate changes and solar impacts, which threatened its existence. Gold could be processed into a special substance that would help stabilize the atmosphere and protect Nibiru from destruction. The Anunnaki began intensively mining gold in various corners of the Earth. They were particularly active in areas where gold mines were located, such as regions in South America, Africa, and Mesopotamia. For this, they used highly advanced technologies, including devices for rock removal and ore processing. Notably, they created the first humans to work in the mines, serving as slaves to perform laborious tasks. The Anunnaki not only mined gold but also other precious metals, such as silver and copper, as well as rare minerals that were used in their technological and magical practices. Utilizing local resources allowed the Anunnaki to establish their infrastructure and supply their bases on Earth with the necessary materials to sustain their existence and fulfill their objectives. One of the main aspects of the Anunnaki's projects was their pursuit of scientific progress and further enhancement of their technology. They used Earth as a laboratory for conducting experiments, creating new devices, and refining their knowledge. They had access to advanced technologies that allowed them to engage in genetic research as well as manipulate natural processes. Additionally, the Anunnaki actively engaged in the creation of new biological entities. This included genetic manipulation and the breeding of beings to produce stronger and more resilient individuals capable of performing heavy labor. It was during this period, according to some legends, that the Anunnaki created the first humans. Using their DNA and that of local animals, such as monkeys, to create a race of slaves to assist them in resource extraction and construction. Alongside resource extraction and construction projects, the Anunnaki began to influence the development of local civilizations. They taught people agriculture, construction, mathematics, and astronomy. However, their influence did not end there. The Anunnaki also used their power to exert oversight and control over local peoples, creating an elite that worshipped them as gods. Civilizations such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Aztecs were significantly influenced by the Anunnaki. They built their temples and pyramids to worship the visitors, as well as learn from them the great knowledge that the Anunnaki shared, albeit with limitations. Much of the knowledge imparted to humans was only partial and did not reveal the full depth of the technologies and magic that the Anunnaki utilized. However, due to their high-level secrecy and concerns about the consequences of revealing all their knowledge, the Anunnaki also conducted secret projects beyond human comprehension. These included research related to manipulating time, space, and energy fields. Many of these studies remained hidden within the depths of their bases and temples, behind walls that humans could not penetrate. The Anunnaki were cautious and prudent, not revealing to humanity all their true goals. While they actively implemented their technologies and knowledge, they also controlled how much information they shared, recognizing that humanity might not yet be prepared for a complete understanding of their power and abilities. When the Anunnaki arrived on Earth and began their large-scale projects, they soon realized that in order to carry out all the necessary tasks, such as resource extraction and construction, they needed to create a workforce. The beings available on Earth could not efficiently handle the tasks that the aliens set for themselves. The monkeys living on the planet possessed some physical abilities, but their intelligence and work capacity were limited. The Anunnaki concluded that they needed to create a new species that could serve them on Earth and perform heavy labor. To this end, the Anunnaki began conducting complex genetic experiments, using their own DNA and the DNA of local beings, including primates, which allowed them to create the first humans. This process was not merely genetic but also spiritual. The Anunnaki not only altered the physical nature of the beings but also endowed them with awareness and intelligence that would serve their purposes. Thus, the Anunnaki became not only the creators of a new race but also, in a way, divine mentors for the first humans. To create humans, the Anunnaki utilized their scientific and biotechnological knowledge, allowing them to manipulate the genetic code of Earth's beings. They experimented with the DNA of local animals, particularly monkeys, with the aim of creating a workforce that combined human intelligence with the physical strength of animals. This process was complex and lengthy, as the Anunnaki sought to create the perfect being, one that could not only perform hard labor but also evolve, learn, and improve its skills. The genetic engineering process, according to some legends, was so advanced that the Anunnaki could literally rewrite the DNA of beings, creating new forms of life with awareness. This process was not only scientific but also sacred. The Anunnaki believed they could breathe awareness and soul into new forms of life, enabling these beings to become more than just slaves. In addition to the physical creation of humans, the Anunnaki aimed to give them something more: awareness. Many myths recount that after the Anunnaki created the first humans, they breathed the spirit of life into them so that these beings could not only work but also think, dream, and develop. This spiritual aspect of the experiment distinguished humans from other created beings on Earth. One of the key points in this process was that the Anunnaki, in creating humans, hoped to obtain beings capable of understanding their knowledge, performing complex tasks, and possessing the potential for self-awareness. However, according to their views, this potential was limited, as they were not ready to reveal all the secrets of their technologies and magic to humans. Humans were created as helpers and laborers but with the potential for more. When the first humans were created, they emerged as a completely new species. The Anunnaki not only created new physical forms of life but also endowed them with intelligence. These beings were significantly smarter, stronger, and more resilient than the local animals, which allowed them to perform more complex tasks and work in conditions that were impossible for animals. However, their intelligence was kept restrained to ensure control by the Anunnaki. Initially, humans were subordinate to the Anunnaki and performed simple tasks such as resource extraction, tending to livestock, and construction. However, as humans progressed, they began to show greater curiosity and a desire for knowledge. This did not go unnoticed by the Anunnaki, and they began to carefully teach humans the basics of science, writing, astronomy, and agriculture. Initially, humans were created solely as a workforce for the Anunnaki. They were subservient, performing hard labor such as gold mining, temple and pyramid construction, and tending to plants and animals. The Anunnaki, observing the development of their creations, understood that they were beginning to develop independence and a desire for knowledge. To control the evolution of humans and prevent their premature autonomy, the Anunnaki limited access to certain knowledge. They only provided humans with the information they deemed necessary for their work. However, the knowledge that humans could acquire allowed them to build more complex societies, develop their skills, and create their own cultures. The Anunnaki also taught humans the basics of their technologies, albeit with limitations. They imparted knowledge about agriculture, crafts, construction, as well as the fundamentals of mathematics and astronomy. This enabled humans to create more complex societies and technologies, although the Anunnaki did not reveal more advanced or dangerous knowledge to them. Furthermore, the Anunnaki taught humans how to build majestic temples and pyramids, which served not only for worship but also as symbols of divine power and the status of the Anunnaki. These structures were built using knowledge and technologies that were available only to the Anunnaki, and humans could not reproduce them without external assistance. One of the key figures among the Anunnaki was a wise being named Adzu, who took on the role of a mentor for humans. He taught them language, writing, and the arts, passing on knowledge that could be useful for their lives. Adzu believed that humans could achieve greatness if given the opportunity to develop, and he attempted to impart to them the knowledge that the Anunnaki considered safe for their understanding. However, not all Anunnaki supported Adzu's ideas. Some believed that humans should remain under complete control and have no access to deeper knowledge. This led to conflicts among the Anunnaki, which ultimately resulted in a division of their will and goals. Many myths and religious texts mention the so-called fall of man, which is associated with his quest for knowledge and liberation from control. In the story of Adam and Eve, for example, the Anunnaki decide to expel them for acquiring awareness and forbidden knowledge. This fall symbolizes the moment when humanity, despite being created as helpers of the Anunnaki, strives for independence and knowledge, leading to their expulsion and punishment. The creation of humans by the Anunnaki is not merely a biological process but also a philosophical one. The Anunnaki created humans as subordinates but with the potential for more. They could observe their development, witnessing how they become more independent and attempt to free themselves from control. While at the same time, the Anunnaki understood that humans could be used for great purposes if they were properly developed. Adzu was one of the most prominent figures among the Anunnaki. Unlike other, more pragmatic and controlling members of their race, Adzu was a true sage and philosopher. He believed that within the humans he had helped create lay the potential for a great future. However, his ideals and aspirations did not always find support among other Anunnaki, which made his story a part of the tragic struggle for the future of humanity. In Anunnaki society, Adzu was known as a keeper of knowledge, a scholar, and a philosopher. His intellect and profound wisdom were acknowledged even among his peers, and he often served as an advisor. However, unlike other Anunnaki who held more practical and, one could say, cynical views, Adzu believed in the possibility of humanity's higher potential. He viewed humans not merely as slaves and tools for labor, but as beings capable of development, creativity, and understanding far beyond what they were given to know. Adzu believed that the first humans created by the Anunnaki carried within them sparks of divine intellect that needed to be uncovered and nurtured. Thus, he took upon himself the important mission of teaching them, imparting knowledge, and developing their mental capabilities. When Adzu decided to educate humans, he understood that for their development, he needed to provide them with not just basic skills, but also the abilities for deep thinking, self-expression, and exploration of the world around them. His teachings were multifaceted and encompassed several key areas: language and writing. Adzu taught people a language that not only allowed them to communicate but also to record their thoughts and ideas. He developed writing systems that included symbols for specific objects and concepts, as well as more abstract signs for expressing thoughts. This enabled people to pass knowledge and culture from generation to generation. Arts. Adzu also instilled in people a love for the arts, music, painting, sculpture, dance, and other forms of self-expression. He believed that art helps people better understand their souls and inner worlds, and to perceive the surrounding world not only through physical senses but also through deeper, spiritual channels. Art was meant to serve as a bridge between humans and their creators, as well as a reflection of their human nature, philosophy, and wisdom. Adzu taught people the wisdom of philosophical reflection and the ability to seek answers to the most important questions about life, death, the universe, and their place within it. He believed that philosophy could help people avoid becoming mere slaves to their instincts and needs and develop the capacity for deep understanding of what was happening around them. Science and astronomy. Adzu introduced people to the foundations of science, such as astronomy, physics, and mathematics. He instructed them to observe the stars, study the cycles of the moon and sun, and understand the relationships among various natural phenomena. This knowledge could be used by people for agriculture, construction, and to gain a deeper understanding of their place in the vast universe. Adzu did not merely transmit knowledge, he sincerely believed in humanity's potential and that his creations could achieve a great future. He perceived humans not simply as slaves, but as beings with their own thoughts and desires, capable of developing their abilities and creating culture, science, and philosophy. The sage was convinced that, if given enough time and knowledge, humans could build a civilization comparable to the one the Anunnaki had created on their home planet, Nibiru. He dreamed of humanity reaching the same pinnacles of wisdom, understanding, and technological progress. However, Adzu understood that not all Anunnaki shared his view of humans. Many believed that humanity was too underdeveloped and dangerous to be left unchecked. Some argued that revealing knowledge to humans was too risky, and that they should remain under the control of the Anunnaki, serving their functions as slaves. Adzu's ideas about granting humans more freedom and knowledge did not find support among the majority of Anunnaki. Many viewed humans as nothing more than tools for labor. And they feared that if the human race gained access to too much profound knowledge, it could become a threat to the Anunnaki. For these Anunnaki, humans should remain in a state of subservience and without rights to develop independently. As one of the wisest and most influential Anunnaki, Adzu faced resistance from more aggressive and pragmatic members of their race. This created tension among the Anunnaki and became one of the factors that led to the internal conflict that erupted among their ranks. The Great War of the Anunnaki, one of the most tragic chapters in their history, was tied to this philosophical disagreement. Some Anunnaki sought to grant humans opportunities for growth and self-expression, while others were convinced that they should remain subjugated. The sage not only taught humans but also believed that they would one day become like the Anunnaki, capable of traveling among the stars and reaching heights they could not even dream of. He prophesied that in the future humanity would come to discover the knowledge that the Anunnaki currently kept secret and become part of a great cosmic brotherhood. This prophecy of the future became a significant element in the beliefs of people, and many of the ancient myths about the fall and rebirth of human civilization trace back to Adzu's teachings. He left behind not only knowledge but also hope that one day humanity would reach the heights he dreamed of. After the departure of the Anunnaki, Adzu and his teachings remained alive in the memories of people, becoming the foundation of many myths and legends about divine mentors. He left behind records, letters, and manuscripts that many researchers attempted to decipher in the future. Some of this knowledge was lost, but some persisted and became part of ancient civilizations. Thus, Adzu's role in the creation and upbringing of humanity became not just a story of a mentor but the foundation for the further development of human civilization and the quest for knowledge. The entire history of the creation and upbringing of humanity on Earth has not been as smooth as it might seem at first glance. Despite the scientific and philosophical efforts of Adzu, not all Anunnaki supported his views on humanity's fate. A powerful conflict erupted within their society, which became not only a struggle for control over humans but also a clash of two fundamental worldviews, one that saw humans merely as slaves, and another that believed in their potential for growth and progress. This clash became the precursor to the most devastating war in Anunnaki history, the Great Anunnaki War. The first Anunnaki who arrived on Earth were quite united in their goals: extracting gold, building and maintaining infrastructure for their needs. However, when it came to the role of humans in this process, disagreements began. On one side were those who adhered to a strictly utilitarian and hierarchical stance. These Anunnaki regarded humans as nothing more than a workforce capable of performing heavy labor but lacking the necessary abilities for independent existence or further development. This view was shared by many in the military and technical elite of the Anunnaki, who saw the creation of man as a temporary solution for the duration of their stay on Earth. On the other side, Adzu and his supporters believed that humans could and should develop as an independent civilization. He was convinced that once humans gained the necessary knowledge, they could transcend their slave existence and create a civilization equal to that which existed on Nibiru. Adzu sought to impart not only the basics of survival but also philosophical and cultural values that would help them rise to a new level. The question of the role of humans became the main source of tension among the Anunnaki. Several factors influenced this: the political and social structure of the Anunnaki, there was a clear hierarchy in Anunnaki society, where senior Anunnaki held the top positions, and junior members followed their orders. The system was based on strict control and subservience. For those who shared the elite's views, humanity was to remain a part of this hierarchy, serving as a tool for carrying out tasks rather than developing into an independent society. Insecurity and fear of potential human rebellion. One of the concerns expressed by the Anunnaki was that humanity might perceive the knowledge being imparted as a threat. As human consciousness grew and their understanding of their nature expanded, so did the risk that they would seek independence and freedom. This could lead to a rebellion that would pose a threat to the Anunnaki themselves. Contradictions regarding truth and knowledge. Adzu believed that humans should be provided not only with practical knowledge but also with deeper philosophical and cosmic understandings. This proposition faced harsh criticism from those Anunnaki who considered humans too irrational and unprepared to grasp such complex concepts. They feared that disclosing such knowledge would lead to uncontrollable consequences. As disagreements among the Anunnaki reached their peak, the situation became unmanageable. Those who supported Adzu proposed conducting experiments to pass knowledge to humans, hoping that over time humanity could transcend its slave role and reach the heights of rational life. Adzu believed this was just and that in doing so, humans could become part of a great cosmic brotherhood, which would eventually allow Earth to become an important link in the galactic community. However, the other faction of Anunnaki, concerned about the possible consequences, was firmly opposed to this approach. They advocated for increased control over humans and confining them under constant subservience. This group viewed humans as a threat to the security and existence of the Anunnaki themselves. The conflict initially was philosophical but gradually escalated into a political struggle and culminated in an open confrontation between the two factions. The situation intensified, and at some point, the confrontation between the two factions of Anunnaki erupted into open warfare. The Great Anunnaki War was both a physical and spiritual confrontation that affected not only Earth but also other aspects of their civilization's life. Anunnaki who supported control over humans attempted to eliminate those who wanted to liberate humanity. In turn, Adzu's supporters began to defend the idea of human independence, striving to ensure that their knowledge and freedoms were preserved. This conflict involved both powerful technologies and weaponry, as well as the magic possessed by the Anunnaki. The war was devastating and resulted in significant losses among the Anunnaki. Ultimately, the war between the two factions of Anunnaki led to severe consequences for the entire civilization. As a result of the conflict, some Anunnaki were forced to leave Earth. Some of those who supported Adzu lost their lives, while others were exiled or hid in other corners of the galaxy. Those who remained had to conceal their knowledge and technologies, causing the loss of many ancient insights among humanity. After the Great Anunnaki War, Earth remained in the hands of those who adhered to a strict philosophy of control. Yet even among these Anunnaki, there were those who believed in the possibility of liberating humanity, and thus over the ages, they left hidden clues and knowledge that could awaken humanity to a higher level of consciousness. Despite the departure of the Anunnaki, their ideologies continued to exist in human culture and myths. Humans began to perceive their creators as gods who granted them knowledge but also limited their potential. This conflict between freedom and control, on one hand, and dependence and subservience, on the other, became a central theme in human myths and religions throughout the ages. In the end, the Anunnaki conflict laid the foundation for humanity's search for the true meaning of freedom, control, and inner strength. The story of Adam and Eve is one of the most famous and enigmatic chapters in the myths associated with the Anunnaki. According to legend, in the course of their experiments with human genetics, the Anunnaki created the first pair of humans, which became a symbol of the beginning of human civilization. These two individuals, known in the myths as Adam and Eve, were created not simply as ordinary humans. The Anunnaki endowed them with exceptional qualities that made them smarter and stronger than any other beings on the planet. It all began when the Anunnaki, deciding to create more perfect humans, started conducting a series of genetic experiments. They mixed their DNA with the DNA of local species to create beings that could perform complex tasks and serve their creators. In their experiments, the Anunnaki aimed to create not just worker beings, but intelligent and strong creatures that could assist them in resource extraction, construction, and other vital tasks. However, their initial goal of creating slaves gradually shifted as they realized that their creations began to exhibit unusual abilities. Adam and Eve became the result of the most ambitious of these experiments. They were created as a pair with high intellectual and physical capabilities. Unlike other beings created by the Anunnaki, who were mere workers, Adam and Eve had the potential for self-development and growth, making them unique among other humans. When Adam and Eve first became aware of their existence, they began to ask questions. Why were they created? What was their role in the world? Why were the Anunnaki their creators? These questions caused concern among the Anunnaki, as they did not expect their creations to be capable of such reflections. At some point, Adam and Eve began to recognize their worth and potential independence, which instilled fear in the Anunnaki, who meticulously controlled the development of their slaves. The Anunnaki were worried that Adam and Eve might become a threat to their power and control. Their intellect, their ability to analyze and reflect became signals to the Anunnaki that these beings might break free from their influence and rebel against their authority. This was something the Anunnaki could not afford. Humans endowed with such mental power could become independent and embark on a path of revolution. As Adam and Eve began to realize their abilities and ask increasingly complex questions, the situation became more tense with each passing day. Their growing awareness of their self and their capacity for reflection posed a serious threat to the Anunnaki, who began to believe that creating intelligent beings capable of refusing subservience was a mistake. Thus, a decisive decision was made. Adam and Eve had to be expelled. For the Anunnaki, this was not merely a punishment. It was an intervention in the natural development of their creations to prevent a potential threat to their power. Numerous myths describe the expulsion of Adam and Eve from paradise, but all these versions can be interpreted as a consequence of their disobedience and quest for independence. In the myths of Adam and Eve, the image of the forbidden fruit often figures prominently, symbolizing not only knowledge but also freedom of choice. In some versions of the myth, the forbidden fruit is not only a symbol of temptation but also a sign that Adam and Eve had attained consciousness. The forbidden fruit became a metaphor for knowledge that they were not supposed to possess, according to the Anunnaki. This knowledge became a catalyst for their uprising against the confines set for them. When Adam and Eve tasted the forbidden fruit, they gained knowledge of good and evil, becoming more self-aware. This knowledge pushed them beyond their initial constraints, transforming them into beings who began to understand their essence and their destiny. Seeing this, the Anunnaki decided that they could no longer allow these creations to live under their control, and they expelled them from Eden. After their expulsion from paradise, Adam and Eve found themselves in harsh and brutal conditions. The land they landed on was wild and untamed. The Anunnaki not only banished them from their domains but also presented them with new challenges. They were forced to fight for survival, learn to work with the land and nature, and develop their own abilities. Adam and Eve were the first example of humans who became self-sufficient. But their expulsion from paradise symbolized the beginning of a new era, an era in which humans had to learn to live without the intervention of the Anunnaki. Although the Anunnaki left Earth, their influence continued to affect humanity, leaving traces in the myths and legends about the first humans they created. The expulsion of Adam and Eve from paradise became a symbol not only of the loss of paradise but also of the first step toward independence for humanity. This act, associated with the attainment of freedom, was both a punishment and a blessing. Adam and Eve became the first humans to learn the value of freedom and to understand their role in this world. Their story became an archetype for subsequent generations of humans who would struggle for their freedom and right to develop. In the myths passed down through generations, the image of Adam and Eve became a symbol of human striving for knowledge, self-determination, and independence. After the expulsion of Adam and Eve, people on Earth gradually began to evolve, but in conditions where knowledge and wisdom were limited. Despite this, over time, people began to seek answers to their questions, attempting to understand the nature of the world and striving for knowledge. These aspirations, which were rooted in Adam and Eve, became the foundation for the formation of human civilizations. Although the Anunnaki had departed, their influence remained, and humanity was destined to seek its own path, its freedom, and its place in a world where they were no longer slaves, but neither were they gods. The Great Flood is one of the most mysterious and tragic milestones in human history, accompanied by myths and legends that pertain not only to folk traditions but also to ancient beings, the Anunnaki. In this chapter, we will see how dissatisfaction and rebellion among humans led the Anunnaki to decide to wipe from the face of the earth those civilizations that began to threaten their authority. However, amidst all this destruction, one soul was saved, and this act of salvation would become the beginning of a new era for humanity. Over time, after the Anunnaki had created the first humans, many began to show signs of independence. These beings were originally created as a labor force to serve the Anunnaki, helping them in the extraction of gold and other valuable resources. However, the more time humans spent on Earth, the more they became aware of their own strength and potential. Some humans began to doubt their purpose, to question the fairness of their situation, and to strive for freedom. This process was the most dangerous for the Anunnaki since they understood that such thoughts could lead to unpredictable consequences, rebellion against their authority. Humans who began to recognize their worth did not wish to remain under the yoke of a foreign power. This process accelerated when they developed a deeper understanding of the nature of the world and the structure of the universe. On Earth, various sects and cult movements began to emerge, openly calling for rebellion. People started to unite and discuss how they could live without dependence on the Anunnaki. This undoubtedly led to a conflict between the humans and their creators. The idea of freedom became a real threat to the Anunnaki, as it could spark a mass uprising. Recognizing that the rebellious humans were beyond their control, the Anunnaki made the decision to destroy all those societies that began to deviate from their influence. The Great Flood became a catastrophic event aimed at erasing from the earth those who dared to challenge them. This disaster was carefully planned and controlled by the Anunnaki, who possess technologies capable of inducing such natural calamities. Throughout history, many peoples have recounted the Great Flood that destroyed all living things. In the biblical narrative about Noah, as well as in other myths from various cultures, there are elements that describe this global flood, which was caused by angelic or divine beings. However, among all these myths, a key message can be highlighted. The Great Flood was an act of purification retribution aimed at destroying everything that the Anunnaki deemed dangerous to their power. The most powerful of the Anunnaki were those who made the gravest decisions. One such Anunnaki was chosen to lead the operation to eliminate human rebellions. His decision was final, and for many it was inevitable. This Anunnaki was possibly one of the highest-ranking members of their race, and his choice overshadowed all others. It may not have been mere vengeance, but rather part of a broader plan by the Anunnaki to maintain control over the planet and restore order as they understood it. Who this Anunnaki was, who stood at the helm of this dreadful disaster, remains unknown. However, in various myths, there are mentions that it was indeed the Anunnaki, possessing incredible power, who were capable of inducing catastrophes such as the flood. Some sources also indicate that the Anunnaki used their technologies to accelerate the natural disaster that could wipe out the civilizations beginning to revolt against their authority. However, among the Anunnaki, there was one who did not share the cruel opinions of his kin. Adzu, a wise and compassionate Anunnaki, disagreed with the plans to annihilate all humanity. He saw potential in humans and believed that their future could be brighter if they were given a chance to survive and develop. Adzu was a guardian of knowledge and wisdom, and his understanding of humanity was deeper than that of most of his kind, Adzu decided to intervene in this process and saved one human, Noah. In various myths, Noah is depicted as a righteous and wise man chosen to save humanity. In one of the most famous myths associated with the Great Flood, Adzu helped Noah and his family build the Ark. A massive floating vessel that could withstand the catastrophe, Adzu provided Noah not only with the knowledge of how to construct the Ark but also taught him the necessary technologies that would allow life on Earth to survive. The Ark became a symbol of salvation, a kind of fateful rescue that allowed Noah and his family to endure the global catastrophe and preserve life on the planet. When the Great Flood descended upon the Earth, the waters covered all that had been created by humans before the disaster occurred. The demise of entire civilizations became part of a divine plan aimed at purification and restoration of control over the planet. However, thanks to Adzu's intervention and Noah's salvation, life on Earth was preserved. After the flood, Noah and his family became the ones who revived humanity. They became the first to carry the knowledge imparted by the Anunnaki and passed it on to their descendants. The Great Flood became a symbol of a new beginning, a new cycle for humanity. Yet, those rescued through Noah began to understand that their fate and future actions would depend on their ability not only to survive but also to learn to live in harmony with the surrounding world. After the flood, the remaining humans began to develop new civilizations. Adzu, despite his goodwill, remained on the sidelines because perhaps he understood that human civilizations had to find their own way, even if it involved mistakes and suffering. However, he continued to pass knowledge to Noah and his descendants, who in turn began to study and utilize the knowledge received from the Anunnaki. Thus, the Great Flood became not only a catastrophe but also a milestone that opened a new chapter in human history. And although the Anunnaki left the Earth, their influence continued to be felt through their wisdom and technologies that remained with humankind. The Great Flood, which destroyed most human civilizations, became a tragic moment in Earth's history. However, thanks to the intervention of the wise Anunnaki Adzu and the rescue of Noah, humanity avoided complete annihilation. Noah became the one who survived the catastrophe and the founder of a new human civilization. After the floodwaters began to recede, Noah found himself among the few who remained alive, and it was he who was destined to make an important covenant with the Anunnaki, the last act of their intervention in the fate of Earth. After the flood ended, the Anunnaki realized that their intervention in human affairs led to a large-scale tragedy and that the complete destruction of humanity could be a mistake. The great cleansing of the planet, intended as an act of vengeance for rebellion and disobedience, did not bring the long-awaited peace. On the contrary, it left Earth desolate and stripped of many of the knowledge they had imparted to humanity. However, at the same time, the Anunnaki recognized that they could not destroy all life on the planet and that their intervention should not be final. Their vision of the world changed. They understood that humanity, despite its rebellion, still possessed great potential for growth and development. Thus, the decision was made to establish a covenant with Noah and his descendants, to give humanity a chance for renewal and self-development. The covenant that the Anunnaki made with Noah was a promise that they would no longer attempt to destroy humanity. Instead, they decided to leave Earth, granting people the opportunity to develop on their own, with the condition that the knowledge and wisdom of the Anunnaki, passed down to Noah, would be preserved and handed down through generations. In the process of forming the covenant, the Anunnaki decided to bestow upon Noah the most important knowledge that could aid him and his descendants in restoring peace on Earth. This knowledge encompassed not only technical achievements but also philosophy, medicine, and deeper mysteries of the universe that would enable humanity to thrive in harmony with nature. Noah became the guardian of this knowledge, and although he was not as powerful as the Anunnaki, he was chosen as the only righteous man capable of understanding and preserving these lessons. The Anunnaki imparted to him the secrets of agriculture, construction, as well as the foundations of astronomy and astrology, enabling people to navigate the world, understand its cycles, and live in accordance with the laws of nature. among these teachings were also technological secrets that allowed for the development of metallurgy and wisdom about how to manage natural forces. This wisdom became the foundation for the restoration of human societies and future civilizations, for through this knowledge, humanity was able to avert many disasters and catastrophes in the future. With the end of the flood and the establishment of the covenant with Noah, the Anunnaki made the decision to leave Earth. It was a symbolic farewell, because despite all their power and technology, the Anunnaki understood that they could not continue to interfere in human development. They came to the conclusion that people must have the opportunity to develop independently, taking responsibility for their own fate. Perhaps the departure of the Anunnaki was also part of their strategy. They were weary of the constant conflict and uncertainty about the future, and their departure signified the end of one era and the beginning of another. The presence of the Anunnaki on Earth was strongly linked to their tasks of resource extraction and scientific experiments, but after they imparted their knowledge, their presence became unnecessary. In their farewell words, the Anunnaki promised Noah that when humanity reached a certain level of development, they would be able to return. But this moment was postponed indefinitely. Until then, the Anunnaki decided to leave Earth to their children, humanity. One of the key aspects of the covenant was the Anunnaki's promise not to interfere in human affairs. They understood that if they continued to actively intervene in people's development, it could lead to even greater dependency and a lag from natural cycles and laws. The Anunnaki assured Noah that they would no longer influence the course of history. However, they reserved the right to observe the development of Earth and humanity from a distance. They were not forgotten. Their knowledge, their presence, and their divine role in myths and legends remain significant for future generations. The covenant of the Anunnaki not only liberated humanity from the threat of destruction but also opened the way for the development of a new civilization. At times, Noah and his descendants were perceived as bearers of divine knowledge and a connection to the great forces that once visited Earth. The knowledge received from the Anunnaki became the foundation for the advancement of technology, construction, medicine, and religion in ancient cultures. In other parts of the world, in other cultures, historical and mythological parallels of this covenant emerged through images of gods who bestowed knowledge upon humanity so that they could create and develop. For example, in Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki remained symbols of wisdom, creation, and rule, while in the biblical tradition, they appear as gods who conveyed knowledge through Noah and his descendants. With the departure of the Anunnaki, humanity entered a new era. They were no longer under the direct control of extraterrestrials. At the same time, the covenant left humanity with a deep realization that its development depended on the use of the knowledge that had been passed down by the Anunnaki. People had to learn to work with nature, create their own cultures and civilizations, and, most importantly, understand the importance of independence and responsibility. Noah became a symbol of the one who stood between two worlds, the world of the Anunnaki and the world of humanity, and it is his descendants who became the carriers of the link between these two worlds. They became a crucial element in maintaining the covenant and passing down knowledge that allowed humanity to survive and thrive. While the Anunnaki continued to observe their development, this covenant became a symbol of the transition from dependence on a foreign power to self-development, and although the Anunnaki left Earth, their influence continued to resonate in the world. After the Anunnaki left Earth, their presence left a deep mark on human history. The people who survived the Great Flood began to view the Anunnaki as gods, saviors who had gifted them knowledge and enabled their survival. The memory of the powerful beings who had descended from the heavens was reinforced in myths and legends, and their return became a topic of prophecies that people aspired to. Following the Anunnaki's departure from Earth, their name became synonymous with greatness and divine wisdom. Humanity, though it gained freedom, still felt a need for support and guidance from those who had once come from the heavens and taught them so much. In response to this, cult practices began to emerge that focused on venerating the Anunnaki as gods. Temples dedicated to these mysterious beings began to be constructed in many lands. These temples evolved into not only religious centers but also research institutions where local priests and priestesses attempted to interpret the ancient knowledge of the Anunnaki. People prayed for the return of these entities, hoping that one day they would come again to help humanity navigate tough times and address global issues such as wars, diseases, and natural disasters. Each culture created its own images of the Anunnaki, but all were associated with wisdom, light, and salvation. In Sumerian culture, the Anunnaki were depicted as gods who came from the sky. In Egypt, they took on forms of gods like Osiris. While in Mesoamerica, the cult of Quetzalcoatl can be seen as a reflection of reverence towards beings that arrived from the stars. Over time, many prophecies concerning the return of the Anunnaki began to surface. Ancient texts, such as Sumerian clay tablets, Egyptian papyri, and sacred books of other peoples, contained references to a future moment when the gods from the heavens would return to restore order on earth and bring peace and prosperity. The prophecies asserted that the return of the Anunnaki would occur when humanity reached a specific level of development, when it became mature enough to understand and accept the knowledge that these supernal beings would bring. This return was perceived as an event that would bring change to people's lives, altering the course of history and opening new opportunities for growth. In the legends of their return, there were often mentions of signs that would precede this event. These could include unusual astronomical phenomena, such as the appearance of strange stars or comets that foretold the Anunnaki's return. The prophecies frequently also included mention of significant changes expected to take place on Earth, changes that would be accompanied by cataclysms, global wars, or other upheavals, but after which humanity would enter a new era of prosperity and unity. The Anunnaki, upon leaving Earth, left behind many mysteries and symbols that became important signposts for future generations. Ancient megalithic structures, such as the pyramids of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and other enigmatic monuments, served as reminders of the presence of these deities. These architectural wonders, striking in their precision and scale, became symbols of the knowledge and strength of the Anunnaki. Some researchers suggest that many of these monuments were constructed using technologies that significantly outpaced the development of the civilizations of that time. It is quite possible that these structures were intended as beacons for the future return of the Anunnaki. Architectural forms, such as the pyramids, are often associated with the rising and setting of the sun, symbolizing the cycle of time and the promise of return. The signs left by the Anunnaki can also be found in myths passed down through generations. One such symbol is the star, often referred to as an indication of their home planet Nibiru, which has been associated with the concept of the star of the gods for millennia. This celestial body, according to legends, was meant to return in the skies when the time for great changes arrived. People worshipping the Anunnaki not only prayed for their return but also hoped that the visitors would become mentors and saviors once again, restoring the broken world. From time to time, prophets would emerge in various corners of the earth, claiming that they had received revelations about the imminent return of the Anunnaki. Some cults believed that humanity would need to undergo a series of trials before becoming worthy of new contact with the gods. People believed that to earn the Anunnaki's return, they would need purification and spiritual rebirth, possibly through a complete transformation of society. It was important to maintain a virtuous life and adhere to the principles taught by the original Anunnaki to be worthy of this grand event in the future. Many prophecies asserted that this return would be associated with global changes in nature, science, and humanity's spiritual life. In this context, the return of the Anunnaki could symbolize a moment when humanity would reach a new level of evolution and awareness of its place in the cosmos. Finally, in the prophecies concerning the return of the Anunnaki, there was also the idea that their return would not be eternal. Perhaps this cycle repeats, and each time humanity faces great changes or destruction, the Anunnaki come as catalysts for change. But there is also another vision. The return could become a culmination, a moment marking the completion of their mission on Earth, when humanity reaches its full potential and no longer needs external assistance. Either way, the myths surrounding the return of the Anunnaki continue to inspire people today to seek truth and realize their place in the cosmos. In this context, their return remains not only a theme of ancient prophecies but also a modern hope for humanity's future. When perhaps we will meet our creators and mentors once again. Myths about forgotten civilizations, especially those concerning legendary and mysterious places like Atlantis, hold a special place in the culture and spiritual quests of humanity. Over time, after the Anunnaki left Earth, great civilizations began to emerge and disappear around the planet, each leaving its mark on history, but also carrying with it mysteries and enigmas. Many researchers and mythologists link these civilizations to the ancient knowledge of the Anunnaki, believing that their secrets were hidden within these cultures and passed down through generations. One of the most vivid and popular myths about a forgotten civilization is the story of Atlantis. According to legend, Atlantis was an incredibly advanced island nation that existed thousands of years ago and possessed astonishing technologies and knowledge. This civilization is often described as a culture based on high science, magic, and philosophy, with access to technologies so advanced that their contemporaries could hardly comprehend them. The legend of Atlantis was first described by Plato, who claimed that it existed about 9,000 years before his time. According to his account, Atlantis was a powerful and prosperous continent, but at some point, it was destroyed as a result of a natural catastrophe, possibly due to a cataclysm caused by cosmic or earthly changes. Plato recounted that the remains of Atlantis were swallowed by the ocean. And since then, only myths and rumors have circulated about it. Many believe that the Anunnaki may have played a key role in the prosperity of Atlantis, serving as a source of high knowledge and technology. It is believed that the Anunnaki left their legacy in the form of technologies that enabled the Atlanteans to reach a level of civilization unmatched in other parts of the world. This knowledge could have encompassed construction technologies, as well as secrets of alchemy, astronomy, magic, and energy. After the Anunnaki departed from Earth, their knowledge and wisdom may have been transmitted to various cultures, as evidenced by numerous archaeological finds discovered worldwide. These civilizations became the guardians of the great secrets left behind by the visitors. It is possible that it was through this knowledge and technology that the creation of such great structures as the pyramids, megaliths, and other mysterious monuments of antiquity was possible. Legends tell that it was the Anunnaki who imparted to humanity key skills such as writing, mathematical knowledge, and the foundations of engineering and medicine. This enabled the rise of great civilizations like the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Indians, which, in turn, may have preserved part of the Anunnaki's knowledge, although perhaps not in its original form. Many myths about forgotten civilizations suggest that the Anunnaki either concealed or transmitted this knowledge only to the elite, which ensured the preservation of these secrets. In myths and ancient texts, secret teachings and spells are often mentioned, which were accessible only to a select group of people, priests or rulers. It is possible that this knowledge was intended to protect humanity from the devastating consequences should it fall into the wrong hands. What caused the disappearance of these great civilizations? Various myths related to Atlantis and other sunken worlds often point to the idea that they were destroyed due to human pride, the misuse of knowledge and technology. People, possessing great powers, began to use them for evil, ultimately leading to catastrophe, in the case of Atlantis. According to one account, its inhabitants began to use their technologies to manipulate natural forces and dominate their world. This led to the destruction of ecosystems, earthquakes, and floods, eventually resulting in the demise of the entire continent. Perhaps this myth of destruction and the fall of civilization serves as a metaphor for how the use of knowledge without wisdom can lead to ruin. There is also a theory that the fall of Atlantis and other civilizations was a consequence of interference from external forces, such as other races or civilizations that decided to destroy those who had become too powerful. Modern archaeologists and researchers have been trying for centuries to unravel the mysteries of these sunken worlds. Numerous expeditions seek evidence of Atlantis' existence, exploring submerged cities and islands that could serve as testimonies of ancient civilizations. Yet, despite many discoveries, official science has not managed to find definitive proof of the existence of Atlantis or other, forgotten, cultures that possess technologies inaccessible at their time. Nevertheless, modern science is increasingly embracing the idea that ancient civilizations may have possessed knowledge that we are just beginning to discover today. Strange archaeological artifacts, megalithic structures, and mysterious writings found in various parts of the world continue to raise questions that can only be partially explained by contemporary knowledge. The legacy of forgotten civilizations continues to influence our perception of the past and future. Whether these civilizations were truly real or their existence is part of myth, one thing can be stated with certainty: they inspire us in the quest for truth. Their knowledge of the universe, nature, as well as technical and philosophical discoveries leave us with a task: to unlock these mysteries and grasp what the great teachers of the past have left us. It remains unknown when and how humanity will once again uncover the secrets of these forgotten civilizations. But the mere thought that such great and mysterious cultures once existed on our planet continues to inspire researchers and dreamers. Perhaps one day we will uncover the entire truth about what remains from the Anunnaki and their great students, and perhaps this knowledge will help humanity take a step into a new era. After the Anunnaki left Earth, leaving behind numerous secrets and mysterious artifacts, many centuries passed, yet their traces did not disappear. Archaeologists and scientists around the world continue to uncover strange objects and structures that could not be explained by modern science. These findings often puzzled researchers, as they testified to a technological advancement that seemed too advanced for its time. Artifacts and monuments found in various corners of the planet suggested that a highly developed civilization once existed on Earth, leaving no records in historical chronicles. One of the most striking examples of unusual discoveries is the mechanisms and devices that, according to their characteristics and designs, clearly surpass their historical contexts. One such object is the so-called Antikythera mechanism, found in 1900 in a sunken ship near the Greek island of Antikythera. This artifact is a complex bronze mechanism, essentially a machine that could be used to calculate astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses. Given its complexity and precision, such devices would seem impossible for ancient civilizations, yet their existence raises questions about how such knowledge could have been transmitted. In other parts of the world, such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, and South America, stone and metal constructions have been found whose exact purpose remains a mystery. The construction techniques used to create the majestic pyramids and megaliths are still not explainable by existing historical knowledge. These structures appear so well thought out and perfectly built that they may have been created using lost technologies that were not available to humans at that time. Many ancient texts and myths mention special stones and metals with astonishing properties. One such myth refers to heavenly stones, or stones of the gods, which, according to traditions, were gifted to humanity by highly developed beings such as the Anunnaki. These stones possessed extraordinary properties. They could change shape, emit light, and grant incredible power. Some texts describe how such stones were used to create wondrous weapons and tools that surpassed all known materials on Earth. Furthermore, ancient sources refer to metals that do not rust. This phrase hides substances that were so resistant to decay that they could preserve themselves over millennia. Modern research of such artifacts sometimes shows that these metals could have been composed of alloys that cannot be replicated using contemporary technology, leading to the hypothesis that the Anunnaki used their advanced knowledge to create materials that could withstand the test of time. The pyramids of Egypt, Mexico, Central and South America, as well as other megalithic structures such as Stonehenge in the UK, are significant historical monuments that still raise many questions. These buildings are so perfectly constructed that modern scientists cannot explain how ancient people could achieve such a level of mastery without the use of modern technology. It is believed that the pyramids in Egypt could have been built with the knowledge of the Anunnaki. Archaeologists have discovered that many pyramids, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, have precise astronomical alignments in their structure, suggesting an understanding of astronomy that would not have been accessible to the people of that time. Scientists have also found that the building materials for these objects could have been quarried using technologies unknown to the ancient Egyptians. This implies that these structures may have been constructed using more advanced methods and technologies borrowed from extraterrestrials, such as the Anunnaki. Temples have been found in different parts of the world that seemingly served not only religious purposes but also scientific ones. For instance, in South America, archaeologists discovered ancient temples with walls adorned with incredibly precise astronomical drawings. These depictions and engravings illustrate star systems that were known only through modern telescopes, raising doubts about how ancient cultures could have obtained such knowledge. According to some theories, these temples may have been associated with the Anunnaki, who used such places not only for worship but also for conducting scientific experiments and preserving their knowledge. It is possible that they were intentionally left on Earth so that human civilizations could learn to use these technologies and teachings. Although the Anunnaki left Earth, their influence remained in human culture and technology. Many myths, texts, and artifacts discovered in different corners of the world serve as evidence that a highly developed civilization once existed on the planet. These artifacts and knowledge were either hidden or passed down through generations, retaining secrets that remain unrevealed to this day. Perhaps many of these insights were conveyed through secret societies or elites who preserved them for future generations. Some of this knowledge, such as philosophy and astronomy, was adapted and integrated by human civilizations, while other technological advancements may have been lost, as their transmission could have been restricted. Today, many researchers, scientists, and seekers of mysteries continue to search for traces of the Anunnaki in their technological legacy. Myths about aliens, ancient civilizations, and unusual artifacts continue to inspire new explorations and inquiries. Perhaps, in time, humanity will uncover all the mysteries of these ancient beings and their impact on the development of civilization. Until then, the enigmas and traces of the Anunnaki will continue to attract attention and generate new theories and research, leading to an understanding of a past that could significantly change our perception of the world. The final chapter of the legends about the Anunnaki unveils the future of humanity, in which they predict the return of their creators, the star gods. This chapter is filled with myths, prophecies, and hope for the great changes that may occur when humanity reaches a new stage in its development. According to the legends, the return of the Anunnaki will not only bring them back but will also mark the culmination of the greatest trial for humanity, where its fate and potential will depend on how we evolve in the future. The legends say that in ancient times, the Anunnaki left signs and traces on Earth, indicating their potential return. Myths from various cultures contain stories that the star gods will reappear when humanity reaches a new level of development. They will observe us like parents watching their children, seeking to understand whether we are worthy of their knowledge, wisdom, and technology. This prophecy has been preserved in texts and legends as a reminder that humanity is not alone in its struggle for survival and development. In ancient times, even before the flood, the Anunnaki prophesied that they would one day return on the day when humans would rise to the heavens and explore worlds beyond Earth. Once this happens, they will appear again to assess the changes that have taken place over millions of years. These prophecies have been encoded in sacred texts and depicted in ritual objects such as tablets, pyramids, and altars. A crucial part of the prophecy is that the return of the Anunnaki is linked to humanity's advancement in technology. According to the myths, the Anunnaki will not return until humans are able to master space, travel between the stars independently, and utilize the knowledge that has been passed down to them over millennia. This also suggests that the Anunnaki, as a highly advanced civilization, expected humanity to reach a level of knowledge and mastery that would allow us to be their equals. And while we still have significant strides to make in science and technology, the prophecies indicate that the return of the star gods will be connected to a moment when we can establish connections with other worlds, understand humanity's true place in the universe, and perhaps even master technologies that we can only dream of at present. The myth of the return of the Anunnaki is often illustrated through the metaphor of children who will grow up to become equals to their parents. This metaphor embodies the hierarchical relationships that existed between the Anunnaki and the first humans, but it also points to humanity's evolution. In history, the Anunnaki began as gods, or a more advanced race that bestowed knowledge and the potential for development upon humanity. Now, as humans reach a certain level of progress, they will be ready to enter into equal relationships with the Anunnaki. The star gods in the myths are not seen as cruel rulers, but as teachers who hope that their children will be able to pass on knowledge and wisdom, developing their own civilizations in the future. Thus, the return of the Anunnaki will be not merely an act of intervention, but an act of watching how humanity has evolved and reached new heights. According to the legends, the return of the Anunnaki will be associated with a climactic moment, the moment when humanity achieves its stellar goals. This will not only be a physical return of beings from Nibiru, but a spiritual and philosophical trial for humanity. Perhaps it will be a moment of a great meeting between two civilizations, the one created by the Anunnaki and the one that has now become independent and strong. Humanity will encounter its creators, and this meeting will define its future. The Anunnaki, as ancient teachers, will evaluate how ready humans are to take responsibility for their destiny and future. This moment can be likened to an exam on which humanity will prove its maturity and readiness to explore new horizons. After the return of the Anunnaki, their tasks and goals will be to reveal the final secrets and knowledge. Perhaps they will open up new horizons of scientific achievements, access to knowledge that has been hidden for millennia, and teach us the technologies and philosophies that will allow us to become full members of the interstellar community. Some legends also assert that the Anunnaki left hidden knowledge and keys to the greatest mysteries of the universe for humanity, which will be revealed at the moment of the return of the star gods. This knowledge may encompass secrets of immortality, space travel, energy, and consciousness, which could transform all of humanity. However, despite all this, there remains a shadow of uncertainty. Will people be ready to embrace this knowledge? What will happen if humanity fails this trial, proving to be insufficiently mature to unveil higher truths? This holds an essential aspect of the prophecy. Humanity must be prepared not only to meet the Anunnaki but also to become worthy of their reunion. The story of the Anunnaki does not conclude with their departure from Earth. In mystical teachings and prophecies, there remains hope that the stars still keep watch over humanity, and their creators will someday return to complete their cycle. This moment is not an end but rather a new milestone that will open up new perspectives and opportunities for humanity. The return of the Anunnaki will signify not only their return as creators but also the return of deeper knowledge about the universe, our place in the cosmos, and what achievements humanity can attain in the future. Thus ends the cycle of ancient legends. But alongside this, the question remains, will people be ready to meet those who created them and uncover the final mysteries of the universe that could change their fate forever? The story of the Anunnaki is not just a myth about ancient gods, but also a deep allegory about the origins of humanity, its development, and the search for meaning. From ancient times to the present day, their presence has not left our culture, firmly woven into the myths, prophecies, and mysteries of ancient civilizations. In the quest for truth and for their creators, people have often turned to the mystery of the Anunnaki, trying to understand what they left for us and what we can achieve in the future. Each chapter of this story reflects the stages of humanity's development, from the initial appearance of the Anunnaki on Earth to their intervention in the evolution of human civilization. Wise and powerful beings who came from the distant planet Nibiru were the first to share the secrets of technology, knowledge, and possibilities with humanity, altering the course of history. They created us, bestowed upon us reason and the tools for development, but they also left traces meant to guide us in finding our own path. However, with each step we took in uncovering new horizons, the Anunnaki also set challenges before us. The Great Flood, the exile of the first humans, internal wars among their ranks, and the struggle for freedom and independence, all served as lessons for humanity that were meant to lead us to maturity. The Anunnaki, as creators and wise mentors, hoped that we would become strong and independent enough to find our way without their constant intervention. The story of Adam and Eve, the flood, the covenant with Noah, and the great prophecy of the return of the star god speaks to the fact that our destiny lies not only in our hands but also within ourselves. We are the continuation of a great civilization created by the Anunnaki, and new opportunities for further development lie ahead of us. We inherit not only their knowledge and technology but also the responsibility they left for us, the myth of a forgotten civilization, the artifacts that testify to the presence of the Anunnaki, and their promise to return when we are ready. All of this indicates that our journey is just beginning. We stand on the brink of a great return, when we may be ready to become equals to those who once created us. This story reminds us that humanity is not alone in its struggle for survival and that we can always turn to the stars for answers. As we continue our path, the hidden knowledge of the Anunnaki awaits its unveiling. And perhaps one day we will be ready to embrace this knowledge, not only as a legacy but as a key to our future. This story concludes on a hopeful note, anticipating that one day, at the moment of the great return of the star gods, humanity will be ready to meet its creators and become part of the great galactic family, not as children, but as full-fledged participants in the cosmic community, poised to unlock the final mysteries of the universe. Friends, thank you for joining us in this episode. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Let them discover this fascinating story too. And in the comments, let us know what you think about the Anunnaki and their impact on the development of human civilization. We'd love to hear your opinions. See you in the next episode, where we will prepare even more intriguing topics for you.